Hi everybody, it's Mark Dorr. Hey, today let's talk about something that's often a topic in teaching conferences, and that's student-centered teaching. And when we say student-centered teaching, well, believe me, I've been in plenty of conferences, been a part of them, where we talked about all the theory and we talked about all the activities and we talked about why we do and what we do down to the nth degree. And sometimes I think we can get a little lost in all that, so let's just take it to its basic point. The idea behind student-centered teaching is that if the student, for example, I often go to language, being a language teacher, if the student is going to be using the language, the student should be using the language, rather than the teacher doing most of the talking and the student answering questions, solving problems for the teacher, that sort of a thing. Because often that ends up not translating well to, at least in my experience, to the real world, where you are the one who's going to be doing the talking. But not only that, not only the talking or the writing, but there's more involved, such as that sort of cooperative learning where students are talking together to figure out an answer. They're negotiating meaning. They're working out things together. And so by having students involved in things, it gives them a better sense of using the language before they're thrown out into the world, speaking, writing, whatever they're doing. Certainly, it's good to learn all of the techniques, all of the activities and all. But a basic gauge is, are you doing most of the talking, or are they doing most of the talking? Are you creating most of the language, or are they creating most of the language? Now, does that mean that you just hand off your duties? No. Obviously, you are still in charge of the class, but you direct it, even with questions. So in a traditional class, a student would raise a hand and say, "Excuse me, teacher, I have the question, blah, blah, blah," and then the teacher would answer that. In a student-centered setting, very often, a teacher might say, "That's a great question. Can anybody here answer that?" Or, "That's a wonderful question. Let's see how that applies to what we're learning." And then have them figure it out. See the difference? Another point might just be, it can go as simple as putting them in pairs and in groups to figure out answers, and they have to talk together. It can even go as far as having the students teach a class. I have had some wonderful successes where students were told to teach, and of course they had to really learn something. If you're going to teach something, you have to really learn something, and so they really got something out of that. Anyhow, anything where you're getting the students more involved. Can you do this with the internet? Of course. Not with these where I'm just recording ahead of time and sending them out. It's not as easy. You can, but it's not as easy. But when you have the live situations, that's so wonderful. It doesn't have to be just the teacher, a talking head talking to people. You give them tasks and then have them go off in Google Classroom working together. Have them phone each other and talk about it and then come back at the next class. Have them interact live during the session and just give their input. Anyhow, student-centered learning. Yes, it can get complicated. Yes, it can be very, very simple. The main point is, get the students using the language. Have a great day, everybody. Happy teaching.